Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritland. I'm John Ritland, and this is the second part of my worst matches I've ever seen series. And again, these are from all companies. It is not just from WWE or TNA or WCW or ECW or wherever. The worst of the worst. That's just what it is. So I'm starting out with a couple TNA matches. Realistically, there aren't I mean, there are some that I'm going to cover, obviously, in this and other episodes, but just some of these just were downright awful. And I got at least enough content for, I would say, about 5 more shows. Because I'm only making these between 10 and 11 minutes. But anyway, Ric Flair versus Mick Foley. It was on the October 7th edition in 2010 of Impact. This is pretty, I believe this is Mick Foley's last match, last singles match at least. Him and Ric Flair have been embroiled in a war and everything and this kind of stuff and whatever. They had a feud in 2006, which was personal but downright uncomfortable because neither guy really should have been. I mean, Foley was in better shape than he was in TNA. I mean, at least to a point. And Flair was still able to go pretty well at 57, but 56, 57. But it was just downright uncomfortable to watch them bleed like crazy when they probably shouldn't have been wrestling, period. And this is not knocking TNA at all. TNA had used legends and used former WWE guys pretty well. But just watching Ric Flair try to wrestle at age 60 was not a pleasant sight. He really wasn't able to bump much. I mean, no one really would be able to at that age, no matter how great a shape Ric Flair kept himself in. But like Mick Foley, he was not in very good shape. I mean, his TNA title run that he had earlier in 2009, well, not bad. The match that he had with Sting in the Cage of Lockdown '09 wasn't bad. His run was basically forgettable because he only held it for a couple months. And just, yeah, this was like his last TNA match, or at least one of his last TNA matches, and it was just sad to watch. Because, yeah, both guys gave an effort. I can't say that they didn't try, but it was a match I'm watching, and I'm just like, okay, they're bleeding, they're using weapons, and doing this. And I mean, I remember seeing it. I actually just watched on YouTube a bit ago. And the crowd seemed pretty into it. I mean, they're watching, two legends wrestle, but it was just sad. It was just really, really sad and not very good. It was pretty damn pathetic watching these two guys try to wrestle. So yeah, it was pretty damn bad. So anyway, now we go to another TNA match, Jeff Hardy versus Sting, Victory Road 2011. I covered this before, but I mean, realistically, what were they thinking? I mean, Jeff Hardy reports had already been out, and I remember this from years before, reports had already been out that backstage at a couple TNA events, he was not in the best of, ways. He either was drugged up, drunk, or something, or, I mean, it was one of the two. That's hence why he lost the title to Mr. Anderson at, I want to say it was Genesis 2011, I believe, which was really weird. And then he dropped it, and then he won it back at Against All Odds in the next month of 2011, but he was not in the best shape, like, at the last pay-per-view in 2010, first pay-per-view in 2011. I just remember hearing about that, and so Jeff Hardy already had displayed that he was not in great shape. He was not in the right mindset to be the champion, as evidenced by that stupid title that he had. I mean, my God, that Jeff Hardy, whatever TNA championship, it looked literally like Picasso had had a stroke and then puked up something because it was really, really bad. But Jeff Hardy, like I said, he won a Bound for Glory, wasn't in the best of spirits up to Genesis 2011 when he lost it, and then won it back a month later. And then Sting, after not saying, mind you, Sting was supposed to sign with WWE, came really, really close and decided not to. He was going to face The Undertaker and possibly end the streak. And I hate to say it, I would have rather seen 2011 Sting versus Undertaker rather than Triple H versus Undertaker at Mania 27, because, sorry, while that match had its moments, it was not very good. To me, it was not very good. And that's where I'm saying, I'm not saying it's the worst match I've ever seen. And it certainly will not make its place on this list, but it just was not any good. So Sting comes back to TNA for a good amount of money. I mean, I think we're chipping him off a check of at least $500 to $600,000 reportedly, and Spike TV at the time was chipping in on that. But so Sting comes back. He faces Jeff Hardy on Impact episode, beats Jeff Hardy in not a bad match, and he has a title. And then Jeff Hardy's going to get his rematch at Victory Road 2011, which is a pay-per-view. This is when TNA actually still ran 12 pay-per-views a year, and was actually able to fund them, as opposed to now when they basically have to get emergency funding and practically shit the bed whenever they get a pay-per-view going, like Bound for Glory 2016. Anybody wants to tell me that was a good pay-per-view, fine. You guys can have your opinion and think it was a good show. I thought it was crap. And I thought it would have been crap no matter what company put it on. You could have had WWE put on something like that. It would have been crap. It would have been even worse with their production values. But TNA should have been ashamed of that pay-per-view. TNA should have been ashamed of this pay-per-view also. This pay-per-view was not very good. But then their main event, which Sting versus Jeff Hardy, a pay-per-view. People paid to watch this. Sting doesn't come out. Jeff Hardy comes out first. And it seems like his music plays forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And he stumbles out, and Jeff is high as a damn kite. My God, it's horrible. Jeff doesn't even look like he can do anything. He barely can get to the ring. He's like doing all the weird stuff to the camera. He doesn't look like he knows where he's at. Sting comes down and, does his entrance and everything. But you can tell when he's looking at Jeff, he is furious. He is fuming. Eric Bischoff comes down. And apparently they decide to go with a quick finish because Jeff is in no condition to wrestle. He keeps trying to throw his shirt to the crowd and then no, and whatever. Jeff I don't know what he was on. I don't know if it was meth. I don't know if it was crack. I don't know what drugs he was on. I don't know if it was pills. I have no clue. That much I didn't study on. I don't think that I'm ever going to find a definitive report of what he's on. And I haven't bothered to pay attention to interviews that Jeff Hardy's done because I have lost a lot of respect for him after this. But they go with a no DQ match. Okay, cool. You're thinking that Sting's, they're going to do weapons and stuff like that, have a few-minute match, and they're going to do it safely. Well, no, Sting, once the bell rings, Sting gets right in Jeff's face. I mean, it is right in his face. Like, if you catch it on YouTube, he is furious. He is in his face. And then ends up hitting a Scorpion Death Drop and pins him 1, 2, 3, even though Jeff tries kicking out. Jeff doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know where he's at. I didn't even think he knew he was on planet Earth at that point. Sting is clearly just pissed. He grabs his title. He's going up the ramp. Fans are chanting bullshit, and he's like, I agree. That was a match that, quite frankly, it wouldn't have ended TNA, but it ended TNA being taken as a credible promotion for a while because they allowed that to happen. Instead of just have Jeff Hardy taken out backstage. Have him taken out backstage or something. And then he goes away in suspension for a while and you have somebody else face Sting. I mean, Matt Hardy, I don't know. I think Matt Hardy was still part of the company and is a little bit of a run. Have Matt Hardy wrestle Sting or something like that. The fact that TNA did it put egg on their face also. It made it look like they were completely in the wrong for doing that. And quite frankly, Jeff Hardy versus Sting's a black eye. It's a black eye on wrestling, but it's a black eye on TNA. TNA let that happen. It was ridiculous and it was pathetic. And they should be ashamed for what they did. So that's where I'm going to leave this off. I'm going to cover about 2 matches per show, so however long that goes. So anyway, that is what I got to say about those 2 matches. Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at the link in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.